Greetings, fellow travelers. Welcome on in. This is the RPG Cave, level 154. I am one of your hosts, the level 199 human Dark Lord, Ryan Turford, and I am joined, as always, by the level 199 Battle Alchemist, Dr. Garret Bland. How's it going, Garret?
I'm doing good, man. Long time no see. It's been forever.
It's been
ages.
It's been ages, as one might say.
Yes.
Also, it's been ages since we've seen Sean Capri. Hello, Sean, who's also here this morning, who's
Sean.
simultaneously typing in the Twitch and the YouTube chat at the moment.
He's so productive, even in the morning. Yeah.
Yes.
Now, I don't know how he does it.
Real quick, Garret, before we get the show started, I'm going to immediately hit us with a question.
Oh, no.
From the NPCs, the non-podcast characters, which of course relates to what we're just discussing. Croco Kyle asks, why have you both been stuck at level 199 for so long? Will you ever reach level 200? What goes into this leveling process? I hope both of y'all have a great weekend. So,
great question,
Croco Kyle. Because for longtime listeners of the show, first of all, we started the show at level 99 because we, as a collective, Garret, you and I, we are experts on role-playing games. So clearly, we were at level 1, but we were already level 99 in the world of role-playing games.
Yeah, we were destroying these dungeons left and right, starting at level 1.
Exactly. But as time goes on, of course, just, we catch up to the XP we catch up to the levels in the dungeon, and unfortunately, we just can't always keep up with it. But every 100 episodes, Croco Kyle, we will be doing a level up episode, which is entirely devoted to us leveling up our characters to new heights.
D&D style.
Yes, we did that for episode 100, and we'll be doing that again for episode 200, and that's when we will actually be getting to level 200.
Or 299.
Yeah. All right, 299. Yes, exactly. So that's how the RPG experience system goes, Garret, because we're grinding away on these mobs here, but it takes a little time for the XP to reach us, I guess.
Yeah, no, this video game is totally rigged. I don't know what's going on. We just get 100 levels every 100 levels ahead. So it's just how it goes, Croco Kyle. Just roll with it. And we change our classes too, and we do a whole thing with it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Yarden actually asked an interesting question in the chat.
Oh.
What is the highest character level ever in a role-playing game, Garret?
That's a good question.
Can you think of one? Because I have a perfect example in mind.
Oh, well, Maple Story you can go to 200. No, I think 300 now.
Okay.
That's the highest level I can think of. What do you think at World of Warcraft?
Oh no, not even an MMO.
Oh, really?
Let me just do this real quick. I'm just Googling it to make sure.
Yeah.
Aha. So in the Disgaea games, Garret.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
In the old Disgaea games, the level cap was level 999 for your characters. But for later Disgaea games, Disgaea 6, the level cap is 9,999.
This guy is messed up, man.
It sure is. Yes.
I'm not surprised.
That's like the most Disgaea thing I've probably ever written in my entire life. So the Disgaea series, as far as I know of, has like the record for the highest level characters with 9,999.
Every time I see that game, there's just a bunch of numbers everywhere.
That's kind of how that works. Because likewise, it's not like Final Fantasy, where most Final Fantasy games, the damage is capped at 9,999, but your character levels are much, much lower than that. Whereas Disgaea, I think like you're dealing like 1,000,000 points of damage sometimes.
Then the numbers are uncapped on that one.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Just grinding item world over and over again, Garret, just hopping into different items worlds and going up the ladder of each one, because each item in the game has like 10 floor dungeons associated with it. It's like, oh my God, it's so much.
You look at the character screen and the stats and everything as just numbers everywhere. Just like crazy in the thousands and millions. And yeah, this guy is something else with their numbers.
I like Nagachaka's point in the chat as well, where he says the highest level should be 2 times infinite, which is better than just level infinite. I mean, but I'm waiting for Disgaea 9 to unveil 2 times infinite level, Garret, where you go infinite with your leveling, but then you can go
then you prestige.
beyond. You can go beyond that.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Beyond Infinity would be kind of crazy, but only I think the Disguise series can do it.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I mean, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be them. Those crazy people over at NIS, essentially. Because they watched Toy Story too many times after Buzz Lightyear said to infinity and beyond. Well, they want to go beyond.
They want to go
infinity.
beyond. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly.
Sure. Mathematically, it makes sense.
Yes. I mean, I don't know anything about math, so sure. I will just agree with that. Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
It's fine. Well, this is the RPG Cave, where, of course, we talk about role-playing games all the time, except for when we start the show and we talk about random stuff. So, if you want to support the show, there's a number of amazing ways to do that. Number one, if you're watching the live stream right meow over at youtube.com/carpoolgaming, or if you're watching over on twitch.tv/carpoolgaming live, because over the month of September, yes, I didn't say September, I said September, we, of course, are simultaneously streaming all of our shows over on Twitch and on YouTube here. So make sure to, of course, hit that subscribe button, whether you're on YouTube or Twitch. That helps the show go a long way. And also, again, if you're on Twitch, subs are half off this month for September. And we are actually putting all of our September earnings towards our Extra Life efforts. So every sub that we get on Twitch will help us, put together a more and more amazing Extra Life for all y'all. So make sure to head on over to Twitch and make sure to sub during September. Just like, of course, we got a shout out our gift subs, Garrett. The people who gifted 5+ subs on Twitch during the month of September. We got BobLoblaw, who is top of the leaderboard right now.
Oh, dang.
Gifting 10 subs to the community.
That's
we got Tim Paullin, who has gifted 5, Tony Baker with 5, Yon32 with 5, Rizzle2929 with 5, and newest addition to this list, Mitchell Power, aka Mitch Power, with 5 as well. So
that's awesome. That's
yes,
amazing.
Exactly. Sean, of course, throws it in there in the breaking news. Mitch Power gifted 5. We got to it, Sean. We made sure not to forget young Mitchell Power, of course.
Young. Yeah.
Of course. Sean also has breaking news for us. Sean, what's this breaking news? We need to know. I'm gonna keep. Toxic returns of the gold member, which, by the way, I'm gonna add in over here. By the way, of course, if you want one big podcast feed with the entire Carpool Gaming Cinematic Universe on it, head right over to our Patreon, patreon.com/Carpool Gaming, just like Toxic did, who subscribed at the gold tier. Shout out to Toxic for returning as a gold member. We've also got Casey Pratt, who's joining as a free member. Hot Gamer Boy Summer, who has joined as a free member, and Solo, who's upgraded to the old platinum tier. Garrett, not the new platinum tier, the old platinum tier.
There's an old and new platinum tier.
No, they're exactly the same. I just like to.
You're just confusing me more. Got it.
That is kind of what I do. I mean, look, it's early in the morning and it's Saturday. It's fine. Also, we have, of course, our website, carpoolgaming.com, where you can go get Carpool Gaming merch, like an RPG Cave t-shirt or any other pieces of merch. And last but not least, if you're listening on audio feeds as well, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And then maybe if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, maybe leave us a nice review. Maybe, leave us a comment on Spotify. All that stuff helps the show go a long way. Well, Garrett, now I'm assuming you have 3 things for me, right?
I do have 3 things.
3
for
things.
You. All right. I'm going to hit you right now. First thing. I remember us talking about Saber Interactive last week.
Yes.
I got to put a correction out there.
Oh,
of course. Of course, Saber Interactive, very confusing. Management and all that stuff. You mentioned that it's owned by Middle-earth and Friends.
I said that, but then I realized that that's not. I think they splintered off. Yeah.
They are independent. They actually bought themselves out. So they're private. They're outside of Embracer and Middle-earth and Friends and all that mess over there. So there you go. Saber Interactive doing their own thing. I hope for the best for them. Guys, I hear Space Marine 2 is pretty good. So, yeah.
I mean, Sean's excited about it. I know Bowser and him played it last night. They're both enjoying it. So I think people like that game, Garrett.
Yeah, there you go. That's my one thing. Second thing, I didn't mention this last time, but actually when we were out in Hawaii, we had a couple of friends taking care of our little dog, Souffle, and unfortunately, it was in a rough neighborhood. And Oakland's rough, If people know the area, Oakland is a pretty rough area.
Yeah.
got bitten by an unleashed dog.
Oh no.
Had to go to a hospital, but she's totally fine now. She got stitches, and now she's wearing the cone of shame, trying to heal. So there's our little one. Let me see if I can show a photo. Yep, little souffle right there.
Aww.
With the cone of shame. She's just laying there right now, just right in front of me, just having a good old time. So there you go.
Well, we, of course, the RPG community, Garret, wishes her a speedy recovery, Garret.
Yeah, she's energetic as ever. Like she hasn't changed at all. But yeah, it's just a little scar on the neck right now.
Of course, real quick, Garret. Prof Rogue PR chimed in with a great comment, and I wanted to read it here.
Okay, go for
it. Prof Rogue PR over on Twitch says, "Hi, I just subscribed to your YouTube channel and followed you on Twitch. I've been following you on a previous account, and I was able to donate to one of your fundraisers. I just wanted to congratulate you and what you do and how you go about fundraising. Keep up the amazing work." Well, thank you so much for the kind words. I mean, I wanted to give you a shout out here, of course, for supporting us and for supporting our fundraising efforts as well. And yeah, I'm very excited for Extra Life this year. And what a sweet comment, Garret.
Thank you, Prof. Rowe PR. That's very nice. And then third thing, I actually just downloaded it. Yarden mentioned it to me. A new mobile game from Bethesda, the Elder Scrolls Castles. It's basically Fallout Shelter, but with Elder Scrolls. So we'll see how far I'll go with that and how addicting that is. Have you played Fallout Shelter?
I played it a long time ago. I played it when it came out, like when Fallout Shelter released originally.
I played that, and I played a very similar one that another company did. It was just a generalized tower management building game. I like these games quite a bit. It's just a management sim on your phone. You can zoom in, zoom out, do a bunch of quests. I wonder how Elder Scrolls Castles does differently than Fallout Shelter. But
did you ever play? Did you ever go back to Fallout Shelter when they added like the Fallout TV show characters, Garret?
No, not so much. I'm not a huge mobile gamer. Okay. And so, yeah, but I was pretty addicted with Fallout Shelter years ago. I think it was like, when it first came out, 2015.
Yeah, because they launched it, like they had like the first ever Bethesda E3 press conference. And then they kind of like did like the shadow drop thing where they announced it and released it at the same time. Yeah. And I remember actually really liking it as well when it first came out. But again, like you, I just never really went back to it at all.
Yeah. So we'll see how Elder Scrolls Castles does. I'm a bit skeptical with these console video game based mobile games these days because they always come out and then like a year later it just seems like they kind of just drop out.
They just poof.
They're just gone out of existence. Like you don't hear Nintendo doing anything with mobile games anymore. And then I know there was some like some Japanese-based mobile games that just drop services every now and then. I just hear those announcements all the time. So, but we'll see how Elder Scrolls Castles does.
You just got to sit there and continue to build your castle, and hopefully it sticks around. I mean, if anything, Bethesda has shown that they're willing to, keep their mobile games around if they're doing well. Like,
yeah, I've tried Blades. Have you tried that one?
No,
it's rough. It's a pretty rough one.
I was gonna say I saw enough of bad things about Blades to be like, no, I don't need to try that. I'm probably good.
Yeah.
I also I'm you though, where I just don't play a lot of mobile games in general though. So it has to take something really special to win me over. Like Fire Emblem Heroes is kind of the example of that. Like that's a game that
one of the success, yes.
Because I love Fire Emblem. And the gameplay was very similar to Fire Emblem. It was just like a more like compact version of it. So I of course was just really into it because of that. But yeah, that was one of the few examples of like a mobile game really, really hooking me where I was like, I need to play every day.
Yeah, but cool. Those are my 3 things, Ryan.
Those are your 3 things. Well, Garret, I'm going to, before I go to on a side quest, real quick note. I had put out there that I was going to stream some Mega Man this afternoon, Garret, but my thumb is killing me today if I do this.
What happened?
Because I've got like, I'm old. So of course I've got like minor arthritis in my fingers.
Got it.
So it's like totally flaring up today. So there will be no Mega Man stream after this, which is too bad because I'm wearing my Bubble Woman shirt, Garret, in honor of the Mega Man stream.
Love it.
but I can't do it today. So
Dude,
apologies.
You can't play Mega Man with a messed up thumb.
No, because this thumb is important because it's the one that does all the jumping, and
it does all the jumping
after
and shooting. Yeah.
Doing 6 hours of Mega Man with the thumb like this is probably not a good idea. So
no.
Just want to give that little programming note before we kind of moved on from housekeeping. But
sounds good.
Ice that thumb, says Skycatcher reflecting. Actually, Skycatcher, a lot of times just not using it usually helps more than icing it, believe it or not, when I have this type of injury. Because it's not a normal injury. I didn't really injure my thumb. It's just arthritic pain. So that's just what you look forward to have when you get older, Garrett. It's just random pain in your fingers, which is exciting. So anyways.
Cool.
Before we, of course, read from the secret text, Garrett, I see a little quest mark over there. I'm going to run over there really quickly because we got a little side quest to go on. Final thoughts on Visions of Mana. I finished the game this week, and I wanted to just round out the conversation.
Sure.
With the fact that overall, I thought the game was pretty good. I did enjoy it a lot. I'm a little bit saddened because I think that this is probably going to be the last game in the Mana series, unless they do another remake or another re-release or something. Because the studio that did Visions of Mana, they basically shut them down at NetEase the day the game came out. And from what we're seeing, the sales are actually pretty soft on Visions of Mana too. So I personally feel like Square is probably never going back to this franchise again, unless it's like a re-release. Maybe they do like a re-release of some of the older games or something like that. But
yeah,
which is too bad because again, I feel like there was a lot of potential with Visions of Mana because I think with a stronger story, I think this would have actually been talked about in some in the realm of one of the better RPGs of the year. But the story itself was just very predictable, forgettable, kind of throwaway kind of storyline. It was fine. It was also just one of the most disappointing things about it to me was that it was just so similar to the Trials of Mana story in a way. Okay. Where it just didn't feel like they tried anything really new with it or anything we haven't seen in a lot of other role playing games. They definitely went in the very tropey realm with the story, and there's some twists in the story, but for the most part they were just very, very predictable, which made me a little bit sad. But again, I've talked about it before on last week's show. The combat in this game is fantastic, and it was definitely the main selling point and the thing that made me want to keep going with this game and wanted to keep going and see it through to the end because it was just so fun to play, Garrett, that it made me want to just keep going with it and see it through. Although kind of the final dungeon you go into is kind of this almost like this boss gauntlet in a way. And it feels like it just takes forever to get through. And I know Kevin Ainsworth was not a fan of the final boss. I thought it was fine. I didn't have that much trouble with it, but him and I both finished the game at the same time, and we both kind of had the same thoughts about it. So that's why I brought Kevin into the conversation too. But overall, I think this game's fun, but it's definitely one for most people out there. It's kind of a wait for sale kind of game, we talked about last week.
Yeah, definitely. It reminds me of a few other JRPGs recently coming out. I think it reminds me, art style wise, Tales of Arise. Mm-hmm. Just the cell shadedness and everything like that. But it also reminds me of Grand Blue Fantasy, the other JRPG that came out earlier this year.
Grand Blue Fantasy Relink.
Right. Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. And I think that was pretty popular on Steam, which I was very surprised by.
Well, that franchise is very, very popular in the mobile space.
I see.
I like that. And they've done a couple of Grand Blue Fantasy console games before that, but they were all fighting games because Arc System Works, the Guilty Gear creators, they did those. So this was their first time doing a big console role-playing game for Grand Blue, which is why so many people were excited about it because it was a big franchise that was already established already.
Yeah, I was just wondering if any of that kind of audience would transfer over to Visions of Mana, but it sounds like the sales, as you mentioned, pretty soft. But every time I hear about this game, that's the people playing it, you're saying it's pretty good. Overall, I'm hearing good to great thoughts. I'm not hearing any this was disappointing or this was pretty rough. Overall, I just heard this is a good to maybe even great game that I'm enjoying. So yeah, I hope it finds its audience and hopefully it's just more of a positive outlook, but it's rough to hear NetEase just dropping that studio. I'm wondering if they just kind of was planning that from the start. It just kind of seems like it. But I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know business strategy with NetEase, so.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the thing. They didn't even really wait for even the reviews to come out before they get. But I mean, obviously they would have probably had like tester reviews and things like that, so they probably knew like how the game was progressing, and maybe that's kind of what led to their decision to kind of oust the studio a little bit early.
I just don't know. You know, even with a good test review system, even if the sales is going to be pretty different than the actual, like, unless it's a very like fantastic masterpiece, you know, a very high reviewed game. But even at that, sales wise, I'm just not sure. Maybe this game feels a niche, but at the same time, maybe they just were fulfilling a contract with Square Enix, and we're like, all right, we don't have any direction forward with the studio anymore. So yeah, I think that could be the logic behind it.
Yeah.
Anyways.
And you never know, like Square Enix, like if it does sell, like if it has a long tail or something like that, or if more people do end up picking up this game then in the weeks to come, or especially when it's on sale, maybe that does inspire Square Enix to then take another crack at the Mana series with a different studio.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like, I feel it's too bad because it's such a storied franchise, Garrett, and I really enjoy the Mana games, but I feel like they almost don't know where to go with it going forward. So the plan seems a little bit uncertain going forward.
But, you know, going through Trials of Mana, you mentioning your impressions of Visions of Mana, I'm getting the same exact kind of feeling, like where the story is a little weak, but the combat's fun and the art style looks great and bubbly and everything like that. So maybe it's just kind of, I don't know, you kind of have to be really unique or really out there in order to sell really well in the JRPG space. I feel like story, like getting into the story and like being a fantastic narrative really sets JRPGs apart than, you know, the typical grind and going through it. Yeah. So
exactly.
Anyways.
Cool. So that's Visions of Mana. Again, I still think it's a good game, and again, it has the potential to be something greater, but I still think it's like a good like pick up on sale kind of game, because I do think there's a lot of fun to be had there. And definitely we made that comparison between this and Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, but like, and I almost like, I think the combat in this is like actually way more enjoyable to me than the Grand Blue Fantasy combat was, which is interesting when you look at the review scores, how the Relink scores were actually much higher than the scores for this game, even though they both kind of had like a very similar problem. But if you're going to pick between one of those two, if you're looking for what like an action RPG with really tight combat, like I think I would choose this any day of the week over Grand Blue. It's kind of how I would look at it.
Cool.
Anyways, Garrett, it's now time to read from the sacred texts, because the year of 2024, Garrett, is almost over. As you know, we've only got 3 months left at this point.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because we're almost exactly 3 months away from Christmas, Garrett, which is weird to think about.
Very weird to think about.
Yeah. So with the little time that we had left, Garrett, in the year, I wanted us to detail, and we did this last year as well around the same time. I want us to detail how we plan on spending the rest of the year with role-playing games. What RPGs we think we're going to have time to get to, realistically, of course. Like I know that at least when I put my list together, I wanted to be like, okay, realistically, how many of these games am I going to realistically have time to get through before the end of the year? Like which ones are going to get cast aside and be moved to 2025, Garrett, at this point. So we're going to talk about this. We're going to kind of go through each of our checklists. But Garrett, I've talked a lot, so I need some water. Sure. So Garrett, if you wouldn't mind, take us away, man.
Oh, sure. Have a drink of water, Ryan. So I kind of like broke it down month by month, and by really day one release dates that I want to play first. I don't know if that'll actually follow through with my plan. But let me just take you for the first few couple of games, and then we can go from there. Right now, I've been on a backlog like crazy time for the past, I don't know, 3 months or something like that. It's been actually refreshing going back to previous games that I really wanted to play, or games that on Game Pass I wanted to play. So, but fall's coming up and there's a lot of games I want to play day one. So first thing I'm currently playing, of course, everyone knows Final Fantasy VII OG. Going through that still. I have it right here on my Switch OLED. Yeah. I do like this version quite a bit. It's the .emu version. Gives you automatic, not automatic, but 3 times fast forwarding and then unlimited HP if you so desire.
There's basically a God mode in there, which also gives you unlimited limit breaks as well, Garret.
The only thing I wish I had was save states, but it does not. I still have to save at particular points in the game. But
you do have to use the in-game save system. But like I said, you really, in theory, if you ever were close to dying and you don't want to just reload your save, you could always just activate God mode and get through it if you wanted to.
True. Yeah, very true. So going through that.
So the plan is to finish it this year? Hold on, I have to ask this. The plan is to finish Final Fantasy VII this year?
For sure. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'll finish it. I would say the pace I'm going, by the way, maybe in a month or so, or something like that. Like mid-October is when I imagine I'm going to wrap this game up, but we'll see how it goes. I'm also playing Hogwarts Legacy, and I've been playing this for a while in and out. I'm almost done with it. I'm about 30 hours in, I think. And I'm kind of mainlining it at this point. There's a lot of different, open world stuff you can do.
Yeah, I heard there's a lot of just side quests and fluff in that game.
I'm doing a lot of the main, there's companion side quests. So there's for each of the houses, there is a major person in that house. And so I'm going through their quest lines. The Slytherin one is super dope because you do learn the unforgivable curses or spells. And I think it has a dark turn. It's a pretty dark quest line. So I'm really enjoying myself with that. And then the other houses as well. But I'm also just, the mainline quest kind of serves as a base game package, to be honest with you, because it does, in each of the chapters, there's multiple quests you got to do, like prerequisites before you do the final main mission of that chapter or whatever. So I find it enjoyable just going through that instead of, as you mentioned, there's a lot of fluff in here. But if you're a huge Harry Potter fan, this is the game to go to. This is the game to play, especially the side quests are cute. You just do some fetch quests here and there, but it's all, in the Hogwarts world. So
you mean to tell me that the Quidditch World Championship is not the true game that Harry Potter fans should flock to? It's Hogwarts Legacy?
I have heard nothing about that game. I haven't heard gameplay.
It came out 2 weeks ago, though.
I know. I haven't seen gameplay. It's on PS Plus. It's on Game Pass. I have heard 0 things about that. Even worse than Concord. Concord, I think I hear more just because of the situation involved, but also a lot of people in our circles are playing it. Quidditch, I'm hearing nothing. I'm curious of the player count on that one.
I'm gonna look that up right now, Garret.
And then every time I boot up Hogwarts Legacy, it advertises me to buy Quidditch, this Hogwarts Quidditch thing. But anyways.
Look, they really need you to know, Garret. Currently, there are 798 people playing Quidditch Champions.
I guess it's better than Concord. On
not
Steam.
only that, that's just right now, and then all-time peak 6,574. So
okay,
many times over, higher than Concord, Garret.
Yeah. Still seems like it's just fine. It's gonna be it sounds like it's gonna be a free to play game. I wish it was a free to play game, but it was kind of on the edge.
No, but it's on all the subscription services. And again, if you had PlayStation Plus this month, it's just free to keep as part of the subscription. You don't even have to be on the extra tier or anything.
So, anyways, Hogwarts Legacy, and then I'll go through the next 2 games I want to get to, and then we'll go back to Ryan.
Okay.
Immediately right after those 2 games, I say let me beat one of them. I'll go to the next one. Persona 3 Reload just released episode Igus this past week. I need to go through it before it's too late. So that's on my mind. That's the top of my mind. It's installed on Xbox right now. I actually shifted to that screen. I've seen the intro video. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go back into that world.
Because you actually are gifted the DLC forever, but you will lose access to the game at some point.
It's mind-boggling, isn't it? But once I beat this episode, I guess, answer game out, I think I'm pretty much good with Persona 3 Reload, at least for a while. So that's another one. And then my next backlog adventure game, whatever that's going to be. I don't know what it's going to be. It could be Shining Force 2. Who knows? It
could be literally anything. I already have picked it out. And we've talked about it's a game we've talked about on the show fairly recently.
Okay.
And that's all I'm going to say about it. Because I'm not going to ruin the surprise. But, I mean, there's one where I'm like, I have to have Garrett play this game. Because I have to hear what he has to say about it. So
I'm very curious now. Okay, cool. I mean, let me just take a pause for a moment there.
Yeah.
And go back to you, Ryan.
Because that sounds like you're realistically, just before I turn away from you, Garrett, realistically, is that like your plan to kind of round out September, early October? Is that kind of the timeline you were working with here?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Cool.
Well, let me mention Starfield Shattered Space expansion. That comes out September 30th. Now, that one's going to be, I don't know, close in timing. I may play it a little bit afterwards, like maybe early October. We'll see how the timeline goes, though. That's a big one.
Okay. The only reason I asked was that I kind of wanted to, get a timeline for like when I should cut off when the things we're going to talk about is. But quick correction in the chat for you, Garrett.
Sure.
This comes to us from I Can't See,
sure, who
heard you say that Quidditch Champions was on Game Pass. So they quickly looked to see because they wanted to play it. But they have Game Pass, but it turns out it's not on Game Pass. And I did a quick Goog.
Okay, cool.
And it's actually not on Game Pass. So.
Oh, I don't know where I heard it was going to be on Game Pass.
I think it's a PS Plus exclusive. And then it's like $30 on Xbox.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm wrong there. I think maybe I confused it by the online multiplayer.
Okay.
On console requires Xbox Game Pass Core.
That makes sense.
That makes a lot more sense. Sorry, I misspoke. It is a PS Plus.
How do you feel about Yarden in the chat saying, Garrett ain't playing Starfield?
Yarden, I'm gonna beat you. I'm gonna totally play Starfield. I'm gonna resist.
Out of the two of us, Garrett, you've gotten the farthest in Starfield. So I mean, just saying. Oh, and Ask What Not Why asks, do y'all ever feel guilty about replaying an old game when you have all these others in your backlog? No, I never feel guilty about that because honestly, I just like to play what I want to play, like what I'm in the mood for. And it's not very often that I like schedule things out like this, but with our Game of the Year show coming up and stuff like that, I have to at least schedule things a little bit because there are a lot of games I want to hit before we do kind of our Game of the Year episode, just to make sure like I've properly played them and talk about them and things like that. So like that's why like I never feel bad about that personally because I just play whatever I feel, whatever I want to play because like I'm not going to force myself to play something I don't want to play if that makes sense.
I don't know. It's been a while since I've replayed a game. If it would be a shorter game, like Child of Light, a Borderlands 2 run. If I ever just want like a podcast game, I would do that probably. I don't know, but I'm not someone that like, oh, I need to replay this game X or game Y. I'm more of a just like I have so many other older games I want to play as well, and want to talk to you or anyone about it. So I guess I'm a little bit of forward. I guess just I seek out new games more than replaying old ones. Yeah, which makes sense. So, all right. Well, moving on to Garrett to my list. So, September, we are currently in the month of September, or September if you prefer. It's insane.
And we're halfway through September at this point. And I am currently actually playing Star Wars Outlaws is the game I'm playing because I decided I want to play that after playing Visions of Mana, and now that I finished Visions of Mana, it's time for to get in Star Wars Outlaws, which is not a role playing game at all. Probably going to take me about 20 hours to finish it. So I would say by like the 20, I'm aiming to finish it by like next weekend, like the 22nd or something like that. So then from there, I have to be a little bit cautious because Metaphor ReFantasio,
It's coming up.
it's just over the horizon. It's coming out on October 11th. And what do I fill the time with between the 23rd and the 11th, Garrett? Although you know that too, but Silent Hill 2 also coming out on the 7th of October as well. So I do need to try and figure out, okay, what do I play in between that time frame? So my solution to this, Garrett, is I've been talking about this all year about a game that is very old that I've wanted to play for a very long time, but I've never played it. Shining Force CD on the Sega CD.
Okay.
I have been waiting to play Shining Force CD for forever. I have the box copy and everything, but I was like, I've never found like a good time in the schedule to kind of fit that in there. And not only that too, but that game is like, not too long. Like I could finish it realistically between the 23rd and the 30th is what I'm kind of anticipating. So.
Okay.
I think that's the plan after that is to play Shining Force CD. Finally, just get the monkey off my back. I'm ready for it, Garrett. It's time. It's time. The Shining Force fans need to be sated because I need to play Shining Force CD. I think that needs to be a thing.
And that's a totally different game than Shining Force 1 and 2, right? It's its own thing.
Yes. So it's actually there are actually Shining Force games on the Game Gear that are essentially sequels to the original Shining Force because it picks up with the kids of the characters from the original Shining Force, Garrett.
I see.
And it takes place in the future. And then, of course, you've got cameos from all the original Shining Force characters in those games. And the Sega CD version of Shining Force is kind of the remake, like the big console remake of those Game Gear games.
I see. Cool.
Yeah. So it's actually going to be pretty cool being able to, to play through and kind of see like the continuation of the original Shining Force story. Because it's the only game that kind of, in the Shining Force series that kind of is related to one of the earlier games. Yeah.
Cool. And I see it on eBay, Shining Force CD, Sega CD for $380.
Yep. It's very expensive.
That is very, very expensive now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, actually, it's gone down from when I first got it. Because it's actually like during the COVID, for example, Garrett, like that game was like over $600 at one point. So,
what do you feel about this grading scheme? I think it's a scheme of my.
I also think it's a scheme, but it's one of those things where I don't yuck anyone's yum. If people like to collect games that are sealed forever that they can never play, have at it. I don't have any problems with it, but I personally am just not into that. So Tharok actually asks a question a good question in the chat. What makes the game so expensive? And the answer to that question is that Shining Force CD is not a super rare game. However, it's a game that in North America is in high demand on the Sega CD that just didn't have a bajillion copies available. And not only that too, but the preservation of Sega CD games in top tier condition over time has been more and more difficult as time's gone on. Like a loose copy of Shining Force CD is actually probably not super expensive, but a complete in-box copy where the box or the manual is still in good shape, very, very rare for a game like this. So that's what actually increases the price, but it's not even I don't even think it's in the top 10 of the top 10 most expensive Sega CD games because there's stuff like Flying Squadron or Popful Mail that are just so much more rare, and it's just harder to maintain them in perfect condition. Like a lot of kids and parents would just throw the box out or throw the manual out or something like that. I mean, with those CD games, they would keep the case, I think, because it was a CD. And like there was the expectation there where it's like, oh, you're supposed to keep the game in the box. But a lot of people just did not keep the boxes and the manuals growing up. And that's part of the reason why a game like that is so expensive.
Yeah, it seems like the Sega games, Sega CD and Sega Saturn, are they both pretty expensive?
Yeah, like I actually think like Shining Force 3 on the Sega Saturn is actually a more expensive game.
Yeah, and it's just because it's low supply and it's a collector's market.
Yeah,
basically.
Exactly. Especially like in North America, in particular, like the North American copy of Shining Force 3 is very expensive because there were like not many copies of that game floating around. And then we never ever got the second and third parts of that game, which were released in Japan only, because of course that's how that worked.
This one graded Sega Shining Force CD 85 plus $2,200.
Yep.
Jeez, man.
That's not surprising.
That's just, yeah. Anyways, that's cool. That sounds good. I'm happy for you that you're able to have some time to go through that finally.
Yes, same. I'm so excited to play through it. So that's going to be kind of that week. And then the other thing, the game that's probably going to fit in there, I know I have the Dead Rising remaster that I'm very excited to play. That's coming out next week. That's going to kind of fit into that time frame as well, which will then basically lead me to Silent Hill, which will then bring me to Metaphor ReFantazio. And Garrett, I am, we've both talked about it where I think we're both purchasing Metaphor day one.
Yep.
But
I
like
pre-ordered it.
I don't think, like, Garrett, I don't think you're like playing it day one. Like, you're not going all in with Metaphor day one, right?
I don't know, man. It looks good.
Yeah.
I may play it day one. I have it on Steam. So I'll be playing it primarily on the Steam Deck or on my laptop. But yeah, I'll be ready for it on October 11th. I think I'll drop games.
I was gonna say, because like I am dropping everything. I'm playing Metaphor ReFantazio October 11th, and that is kind of the game I'm playing for most of October, or however long that game runs, because we just don't know how long that game is. But I'm imagining, if Persona 5 is any indication, like that's probably going to be a 60 to 100 hour game.
Easily, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'll dominate my month of October. I kind of slot in Call of Duty Black Ops 6 because I do want to play that.
Right.
And that releases October 25th. But other than that, man, it would be Metaphor ReFantazio. That'll be my main RPG game until I finish it.
Yeah, exactly. Because likewise, as we transition back to you, what does kind of the rest of your October look like? Is it gonna just be Metaphor? Or is it gonna be something else? What do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, you heard all the different stuff I wanted to play as well. So if I'm not playing Metaphor ReFantazio, I'm going back to Starfield, or I'm going back to Persona 3 Reload.
Like picking up any of the games in September you might have not had time for.
Exactly. And then probably the backlog adventure game. I'm not trying to seek out any new RPGs in the month of October, basically. Just to keep it safe.
I'm also going to tell you, just forewarning, Garrett, your RPG, your next backlog game is actually going to be pretty short. It's going to be one of the shortest games I've actually recommended you. So
that's great.
Hopefully, I think that you'll actually probably be able to finish it before the end of the year.
Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah. Whereas,
what about you?
For me in October, since Metaphor is so long, I'm not planning anything else in October until the end of October when Dragon Age comes out.
Right, Dragon Age.
Yeah, because I'm so excited for Dragon Age. I really, really want to play it. Again, I love BioWare, as we talked about on last week's episode. My hype is actually pretty high for Dragon Age, the Veilguard. So I'm very excited about that. And again, I'm going to, the other game I'm going to be playing in October, Garrett, to kind of squeeze thing in, if I can anyways, is Life is Strange Double Exposure, which again, not a role-playing game, but definitely going to try and find the time to fit that in there.
Yeah, I have played all the Life is Strange games, so I kind of want to play that too. That's the one, I guess, is with Max later on, or
it's Max in this one.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Sounds good.
Because it's almost like going to be like the first true sequel to the original Life is Strange, which is why I'm so excited about it. Because the original Life is Strange for me was like my favorite game of the year it came out in, which was 2015. I know a lot of other people picked The Witcher 3 or Metal Gear Solid 5 that year, but for me it was Life is Strange. Like that was the game
I loved Life is Strange when I played it for sure back in 2015. I need to replay it because it's been a while. I kind of want.
I played it when the
story.
remaster came out with True Colors, which was a few years ago.
I have the remastered, but it's on PC and it's just it's so bad. I wonder if it's better now these days, but
I waited till they
rough.
patched it. But there were because it was kind of broken on most of the consoles and PC, but I think it's working now because like when I played it, it wasn't bad at all. It was actually better than playing like the OG version. So,
Okay, I'll check it out maybe later.
So that's kind of what my October looks like, Garrett. So now let's transition to November. What's your November looking like?
My November's packed because there's 2 games I really want to play. Day one, we'll see how that goes. Mario and Luigi Brothership comes out November 7th. That's a game I'm keeping an eye on, see how the reviews are. I don't think I'll I'm gonna play it day one. I'm gonna wait for reviews and kind of go from there.
Okay.
See how it goes.
Yeah.
What about you? What's your feeling with Mario and Luigi Brothership?
I have a similar feeling where I feel like of all the games we're about to talk about, Garrett, it is the one that has the biggest chance of maybe slipping to next year. Where I maybe play it in January or February or March kind of thing of next year. Because I'm excited about that game, Garrett. I've already pre-ordered it because I had an extra Switch voucher. And I decided, you know what? I'm not going to use this for anything else for the rest of the year. I might as well just pick up Brothership now and just use it before it expires. So, so I picked up Brothership. So I have it. But I think that's a game that it might just sit on the wayside till next year. And you'll hear why in just a second when I talk about the rest of my November, I think.
Yeah, sounds good. Mario and Luigi Brothership is one big game I'm keeping an eye on. And another one, of course, Dragon Quest III HT2D Remake coming out November 14th.
Yep.
Just a week later. So we'll see how that one goes.
I can already tell you, Garrett, with the way my November shaped me up, I'm actually for sure saving that game till next year.
Okay.
100%. Because I'm excited to play it. Really excited to play it. Especially because I'm not super into Dragon Quest, but I feel like this could be kind of my gateway into actually liking Dragon Quest again. Because I've heard so many great things about the original version. But I think that this one in particular is probably going to wait till next year, just because of what I'm about to talk about.
Yeah, sounds good. So those are the major 2 games I'm looking out for. I'm not going to say I'm totally committed playing day one on these games. I'm just going to be like, are they good? What's my, backlog feeling? What's my current gaming scape feel like? Am I still playing Metaphor Ring Fantasio? Probably.
Yep.
I'm probably doing that. So we'll see how those 2 games go. But those are in my scope for November. So What about you, Ryan?
So the key game for me, first of all, Dragon Age, since it comes out on the 31st of October, basically when we go to Extra Life, essentially, that is going to be the game for the beginning of November for me, because I can already tell you from playing the last Dragon Age game, that game was like a 60-hour game. So I'm expecting the Veilguard to be something similar. So I think the first 2 weeks of October, pretty safe to just cross off and say that that's going to be Dragon Age.
November.
Oh, November. Yes, exactly. Thank you. The first 2 weeks of November is going to be Dragon Age's turf, essentially. Also, the chat mentions as well, PS5 Pro comes out during that time. I'll be playing it on the PS5 Pro, Garrett.
That would be cool, man. Now, did they list that one out as one of the Pro enhancements?
No, but it's one of those things where it wouldn't surprise me if between now and then, or even
they'll have
sometimes where it comes out, there's going to be a patch for it, probably. So
for sure.
But one that I do know is going to be PS5 Pro enhanced, and one that is honestly one of my most anticipated games of the fall, besides Metaphor or Silent Hill, is Assassin's Creed Shadows. Cool. November 15th.
Awesome.
Action again. It's an action RPG. It counts. Okay, guys. It counts on the RPG list. Games of RPG games. But November 15th, I'm so freaking stoked for Shadows, because we've always wanted them to do kind of like a feudal Japan kind of Assassin's Creed game, and it's in the RPG style, which I love, because those are the Assassin's Creed games that I love to play. So this is a slam dunk for me, and we already know it's going to be PS5 Pro enhanced as well. So this will be kind of I think the first true game that I play that's enhanced for the PS5 Pro while I'm playing it. So yeah, Shadows, I'm day one on that. whether we get a code from Ubisoft or not, I am going to be playing the heck out of Shadows, and I can't wait for it. So
Cool.
And I think that takes up most of my November at that point, Garrett, because
You
for the
got
most
two
part,
big action RPGs for sure.
yeah, because both of those games are going to be like 60+ hour games. So
Easily.
that pretty much just takes up my whole month of November with just those two games at that point.
For sure. I'm excited for Assassin's Creed Shadows. I'm just curious if it's it sounds like it's just more of the RPG formula that they've been doing with Valhalla and the previous Odyssey and so on and so forth. I still would like to go back to Valhalla. That's what I imagine, all these future, Assassin's Creed games. Oh, that looks cool. But I would like to go back to the other one first and figure that out before.
Well, because even though the past story doesn't connect, the present story is all connected between those games. So there's a reason to play them in order, despite the fact that it might be tougher. Maybe it's tougher to go back to Origins at this point. But
I went through Origins all the way through. I think like a couple years ago, I needed to go through Odyssey all the way through.
Dude, Odyssey's so good. I love that game.
And then I need Valhalla. I was like 25, 30 hours in as well. It's just those are huge games. So we'll see how it goes. But I am intrigued about feudal Japan, how it how it interacts with the world with those two characters. It reminds me of Syndicate a lot. Yeah. Because of the brother and sister type of tag deal, and then one's like more aggressive, one's more sneaky.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Which I also really love. Like Assassin's Creed Syndicate is like the game that brought me back into Assassin's Creed, and it's a game that I still really enjoy. Because they kind of lost me after 3 at that point. Like,
it makes sense.
Because Garrett, I don't know if you knew this, but I played Assassin's Creed 3 on the Wii U. That was the console I got on for the extra features that they showed off at E3
on the Wii U gamepad.
On the gamepad, yeah, they took advantage of the gamepad for that game. So I was like, yes, I'm gonna play it on the Wii U because you have to remember at that time the Wii U was actually the most powerful console at that time. It was actually more powerful than the PS3 or the Xbox 360. So when games were actually done there well with the gamepad, like I bought them there, just like I bought Call of Duty Black Ops 2 there on the Wii U, and it was I played multiplayer with like 10 other people who also had that game.
Nice. But yeah, anyways, I'll keep an eye. With Ubisoft games, they're always on sale too. So I'm just kind of a wait and see with Ubisoft
with that type of game. If you're like not super into it, it's better with the Ubisoft thing. It's better to wait for them to put it on sale like a month or two later, kind of thing. But for me, it's just like I'm so stoked for that game. Like that's the Ubisoft game I've probably been most excited about since Odyssey or Valhalla came out. So
wow, okay, cool.
I'm so stoked for it. So
awesome.
Garrett, to kind of round out the year, December. What does December look like for you, man?
Dude, December is pretty quiet. At least in the RPG space, there's not really anything coming out, which is great.
There's one game, which I'll talk about when we get to my list, but you're right. Like there isn't really like a lot of other stuff.
Unicorn Overlord is probably in my scope for December if I'm free enough. I think that will be my main game for the month of December is going through that because I got it for Switch and I want to get through it before Game of the Year to figure out where that kind of lies in there.
Right.
And then, of course, any backlog adventure games or, me, I'm always dabbling into indie Game Pass games, so probably be playing that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for December, man.
Okay.
Pretty chill.
Yeah, it's going to be like catch-up season. Like any games that you missed out on earlier in the year, you can save them until December kind of thing. I mean, unless we get a surprise announcement coming up soon of like some other random game coming out in December.
I really got saved with Avowed being delayed.
Yeah.
Avowed would have kind of destroyed my fall schedule.
Right.
Pretty much. And now it's February. So.
Now, Garrett, are you, since you have Game Pass, are you going to play that Indiana Jones game in December?
The thing is, I've played Wolfenstein, the new ones for Machine Games. I like them. I'm not good at them though.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going. I'm sure this Indiana Jones game is going to be very different than the. Of course, it's not a first person shooter. I'm curious how the reviews go and everything like that. I'm not a big Indiana Jones person in general as well. I would rather play other Game Pass games at the time. Like, let's say Diablo 4. I think that's a good game to get into in December just because it could be kind of mindless and I can do other stuff like listen to a podcast, watch a show or something like that. But
like that's a good game to play like during the downtime when you're like spending time with your like the family and stuff like that, right?
Exactly. I think Indiana Jones is a wait and see for me. It's like, maybe I'll play it, but I would rather play, let's say, Hellblade. Hellblade 1 and 2 is one I definitely want to go back to and play through. I know those are shorter games. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Okay. Nice. Well, yeah, as for me, like my December, it's kind of in the same boat where it's kind of like catching up on games that I missed. I think that this is the month where I'm going to slot in Key Locker, which is a indie role-playing game that's coming out this week. Coming up. But
it's on my Fantasy Critic, by the way.
Yeah, I know that I'm not going to have time for it in September. So I'm going to kind of save this for December because this is a game I'm really excited to play. But it's one of those things where I just know I'm just not going to have time for it between, all the other games we talked about in September and October. So for sure, this is kind of where I'm kind of going to slot that one in. And then the only released in December, Garrett, is Fairy Tail 2, which we've talked about on the show. Of course, it's like based off the Fairy Tail anime, and it's made by Gust, who the studio that does the Atelier games, but it's a turn-based RPG and not like an action RPG or anything like that. And I know that there are other some of the Atelier games are turn-based as well, but this game got my attention. I'm actually pretty excited to play it because I really like the first one. They did such a good job with it that they won me over enough where I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to play this in December. Fairy Tail 2. So I'm pretty excited about that. And then kind of that brings us to Christmas time because the last Fairy Tail game, it only took like 15 hours to finish it. So I think I could finish it in about a week. So there's still a little bit more time before the end of the year. And I don't know what else I'm going to kind of play during the Christmas. Actually, like home for the holidays time for Christmas time. Because we'll also be off from the podcast at that time too, Garrett, as well. For those that are kind of newer to the carpool community, we do usually take a break around the Christmas time. So like there will be extra time to play games. And maybe that's the time where, I promised Miles _ Amanda that I would play Sea of Stars this year. Maybe that's where Sea of Stars fits in, is like the Christmas time. I also kind of want to play Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth as well. Like maybe that's where a game.
But
like
you don't play the other Yakuza games?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
I said I wanted to at least try it. So
sure.
I feel like maybe that's where that slots in. Maybe I slot in. Maybe that's where I just play something like Lego Horizon Adventures because we don't really know when that's coming out, Garrett. But it's supposed to still come up before the end of the year. So maybe that's where I kind of play a game like that. Or maybe I just go all out, Garrett, because we also don't have a release date for this one. But I suspect at Tokyo Game Show in a week or two we will. Fantasia Neo Dimension. Maybe that's where I kind of slot that game in as well.
Yeah, that's a game coming out for sure.
That's a game coming out that's supposed to still come out this year that we're still waiting for the release date on, and maybe that's where that slots in there.
Sounds good. Another JRPG that's kind of, there's definitely a lot of JRPGs coming out this fall that we haven't even mentioned yet. We got East 10 Nordics, and then we also got Romancing Saga 2 remake or whatever. So definitely keeping an eye out for both, but definitely not day one for me on those games. So
same. Well, and again, like neither of us have really been Ys people anyways. But maybe that's the one that gets me into the series because I do want to at least try it. But that's a for sure next year game. If I'm waiting until next year to play Dragon Quest 3, Garrett, like then Ys 10 is waiting until next year.
Maybe I play Ys 8 during December. I don't know.
Maybe
we'll see.
Maybe I'm not assigning you that game, Garrett, by the way. So
okay,
you don't have to worry about that. And then of course the other game you mentioned as well. I don't know if I'm going to play that either. So
yeah. Sounds good.
Cool. Well, that's our roadmap. That's how we plan on spending the rest of the year. But of course, we reached out to the NPCs, the non-podcast characters, who, of course, let us know what games they're going to play through the rest of the year. So Skycatcher Reflecting says, realistically looking at finishing Trails Through Daybreak, Touhou New World, and Redemption Reapers. I haven't heard most of
I haven't heard those games. Yeah, me neither. Interesting.
Because of YouTube's seal of approval, gonna pick up Metaphor as my last new game of the year. Gonna round it off with Jeanne d'Arc on the PSP. And left a few spots open for server RPGs of the month. I think that means several RPGs, but I'm reading it verbatim, Garrett. It says server JRPGs. So we're gonna go with that. But Jeanne d'Arc, that's a good pick, Skycatcher, because like that just recently came to PS Plus, and it's also just a game you can just pick up for $10 on the PlayStation 4 and 5, and that game's awesome. I've wanted to replay that for a long time because I played it on PSP and really, really enjoyed it, but I've not played it since it came to PS4 earlier this year. But that's a game that I wholeheartedly recommend people check out. It's a strategy role-playing game made by Level 5. It's similar to Fire Emblem, but it's got like weird French people in it, and it's really good. Got fantastic visuals as well, so really cool game.
Just to hit you up on those last two games you mentioned, Touhou New World is an Xseed action RPG.
Okay.
It seems like. It seems pretty cool. And then Redemption Reapers seems like a turn-based Fire Emblem type game, but it's set in like a gothic medieval world. So
okay.
There you go. Those
good to know.
Two. Yeah.
I love learning about new games like this. Like I think this is so cool. So, and I know also, Garrett, one indie game that we kind of got saved for September as well was like we were both excited for Demon School.
Yeah.
And that got moved to next year too.
I can't believe it. It was just so close, and then they're like delaying to next year. I'm like, okay, interesting. Yeah. Let's see how that one goes.
I also love, I Can't See chimes in and also says, Jeanne d'Arc is really good. I don't usually do tactical games, but it's fun. Yes, 100% I Can't See. That game's awesome. So, and next up, we got Ryu, who says, I'm planning on finishing The Answer in Persona 3 Reload. After that, I'm considering Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner Raudu Kuzohana versus the Soulless Army, which is a PS2 Atlas RPG I missed back in the day. Or maybe I'm going to play Shadow Hearts Covenant. I never finished it after starting it years ago. The only RPG I know I'm certainly going to be picking up is Ys 10 Nordics. I may wait to see if I want to pick up Metaphor. So cool. That's an interesting game. So, Garrett, I don't know if you know this game. Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner Raidu Kozohana versus the Soulless Army.
That's a long one.
You should look up the price for that game, Garrett, while I then explain what this game is. So the Devil Summoner games are kind of like you play as like almost like a conductor or like a person that houses all these monsters and kind of like commands these monsters. Like you're like the strategist essentially. But essentially you summon monsters from the Shin Megami Tensei world and they basically fight other monsters in these kind of like arena style kind of battles. And it's like it's got RPG elements too. So it's a role like an action RPG. But this game is hella expensive, like very expensive.
I mean, I see it for $100.
Okay. Well, the price must have gone down since then because
it was $200.
This game, Garrett, on according to price charting, a long time ago was in the thousands of dollars.
Oh, maybe I'm looking at a different one because I'm seeing loose price $100. Yeah, Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner Raidu Kazunoha.
Yes, this is definitely plummeted since the last time I looked at this because this used to be very high, but I guess post-COVID pricing is brought the price down, which is a good thing. I think that's a good thing. That game is also on PS3. You can actually buy that game on PS3 for $10 and play it there as well as like a backwards compatible PS2 game as well. So there is that option as well. But yeah, so that's an interesting game. That's an interesting deep cut. And Shadow Hearts Covenant, fantastic game as well. I think that's a good way to do it. So I think those are both great picks, Ryu. So I don't think you can go wrong. I think Shadow Hearts Covenant is probably the better of those two games, in my opinion. But I think they're both pretty good games. So there you go.
Cool.
All right. Final question of the week, Garrett, comes to us from one Nagachaka. Ask the question: when do you think Starfield will be coming to PlayStation 5? I'm asking because I no longer have an Xbox, but would like to play the game ... eventually.
I'm curious about your answer first on this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised they didn't announce it along with Shattered Space.
Okay.
I kind of expected that maybe that was the move, like a year later when Shattered Space gets announced, they do like a Game of the Year edition for PlayStation 5. But no, that didn't get announced. So, I mean, I don't know when this actually happens now. I'm going to make a prediction, Garrett, right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think before 2025 is over, that game is on PlayStation.
I can believe that. Yeah.
I don't think it happens before the end of the year because, like I said, I think if that was the move, if they were going to get it out this year on PlayStation 5, they would have announced it already. Mm-hmm. But I think next year is definitely the play. I think by next year, there will be a Game of the Year edition of Starfield on PlayStation with all the DLC, and it's just like one version you buy.
I can see that for sure.
Because I also think the possibility exists, Garrett. We're at the same time this happens.
Mm-hmm.
The Switch 2 will be out. And there's also a possibility that game also comes to Switch 2. Like they have like a Switch 2 version of Starfield.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I don't know if they would contract that one out and figure it out with another
I would
party.
imagine so. Kind of like what they did with Elder Scrolls.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe when we get the Switch 2 reveal, Garrett, like what if they do the Bethesda thing again, like they did with the Switch 1 reveal, and one of the games they show off during the Switch 2 reveal is Starfield running on Switch 2.
Yeah, I don't know. Starfield doesn't have that same gravitation as Skyrim does. I think that's just my gut feeling with that. Yeah, Starfield is an interesting one because, as you mentioned, it's a bigger RPG, and Bethesda's definitely and Xbox is gonna transfer that over eagerly because they seem to be pretty aggressive of transferring pretty much any first party game now, especially Bethesda games and so on. I would say this time around, next year, I think we'll have Starfield kind of released on PS5 for sure.
I think that's a pretty realistic expectation because, like I said, I think like next year's gonna be really interesting because I think there's gonna be a lot of Microsoft games that come over to other consoles, both with Switch 2 and PlayStation. And I think Starfield is definitely one that's like for sure coming, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I still think it's going to be a Switch 2 game at some point. Even if it's not like a launch window title, I think like when the PS5 version comes out, they probably also do a Switch 2 version of this game.
I can see that as well. Or just maybe a little later development or whatever. But yeah, I could totally see it on Switch 2 as well.
Now, Garrett, how disappointing or sad would you be that you're all excited for the Switch 2 and they show Starfield for it, and then they announce Starfield on Switch 2 Cloud Edition?
Oh, I'm not even getting Starfield on Switch 2, so I would just be like, sure, whatever. Okay. Yeah. I'm not big on I have Skyrim on Switch. I don't particularly like to play my bigger RPGs on Switch just because of really it's a weird thing with me. It's the achievements.
Right.
It's so weird not having some sort of milestone achievement, whether it be a Steam achievement or a trophy or an Xbox achievement. Nintendo doesn't have that, so I'm just kind of weird like that. I just want some mile marker.
God forbid, Garrett, with the next console that they can't add some kind of trophy or achievement.
Oh, they won't. They absolutely
it's Nintendo.
Won't. So,
of course they're not. Just like you're still going to have friend codes on Switch 2.
We're gonna back in way to download screenshots on your phone.
Yeah, like what? Yeah, because I'm imagining there'd be like unveiling even longer friend codes for Switch 2. Well, again, like it would make sense actually that they're not going to change too much with the like social features and stuff like that, like trophies and achievements or like a friends list, because the fact that it is going to be fully backwards compatible, we would hope or we would assume with the Switch 1. So they can't probably add any of that stuff to it without like patching old Switch games to make it work with the new friend system, as an example.
Yeah. So there you go, Nakachaka. It will happen, and I think it will happen a year, or as Ryan mentioned, by the end of 2025.
Yeah,
you'll see it.
Exactly, and I think it's probably like, if I had to guess, it'll be in the earlier half of next year.
Okay,
but yeah, who knows? It's Microsoft; they can do what they want at this point.
Apparently.
Yes, exactly, Garrett. Well, anyways, that's going to do it, I think, for this episode of the RPG Cave. But before we go, Garrett, got to say thank you to all of our patrons over at patreon.com/carpoolgaming, starting with our ultimate producers, Jonathan Brown, the man behind the music on the Xbox Drive and the PlayStation Drive. You can listen to all of his music over at Purple Monkey Entertainment at the link tree, linktr.ee/pme.jib. Of course, the link will be in the description of this podcast. Cwagmire, who humbly reminds you that the best babes are, in fact, Xenobabes. And TechMike, who says, whether you're Kevesi or Agnian, you're a Xenobabe at heart. I don't know any of the pronunciations of the Xenobabe names, Garrett. So that's what I'm going with. And we're just roll past it.
Just roll with it.
All of our links to all of our producers can always be found in the description of our podcast. Our platinum producers, CowboyDangerD, Peje, Solo, Smokin Joe, The Captain, and Tim Paullin. And our gold members, Adam K, Anna, Awesome Dave 1337, BobLoblaw, Brad Moore, Brian Reese, Cecily Carrozza, Dan and Luma, Dannohh, Drellesh, Emily O'Kelly, Hoppel, Yon32, Kia Savoy, Ligerwoods 330, OldMrFrump, Patrice Mallette, Shane Erickson, TechMike, the Jiggy Collector, Tim Aulph, and our newest gold member, Toxic. So shout out once again to all of our patrons over at patreon.com/carpoolgaming. Of course, if you want to hop in the car with us, head on over there, choose the tier that's right for you. And now Garrett plugs go.
You can follow me on Twitter at Bland Explosion, and you can find me on the Discord. I read every single messages, yes, including you, Savoy Prime, with your 70 billion articles, and yes, you, Ryu, with your I love your stories of your what you're playing in the video games and your impressions. Keep at it, guys. Love you all on the RPG Cave.
Aw, shout out to our Discord, by the way. Our Discord, one of the best Discords in gaming, if I might, be as bold to say so, Garrett.
Yes, the best one.
As for me, you can find me on the old Twitter, aka X, at Ryan Tuffer. You can also find us on X at Carpool Gaming. Right here, youtube.com/Carpool Gaming. Over on twitch.tv/Carpool Gaming live, as well as podcast services around the globe. So for Garrett Bland, I'm Ryan Tuffer. This has been the 154th level of the RPG Cave. Only 46 levels until level 200. Yeah. I had to do the quick math, Garrett.
46.
And we're out.
Bye-bye.